Next game, Demon Souls, PlayStation 5 launch title, rightly celebrated as a simply superb game.
Absolutely.
I dimly recall that it had a 4K 30 quality mode and a 1440p 60 performance
That's
mode.
correct.
What have we got for the 5 Pro?
So here, and I just wanted to say right off the bat that like looking at Demon Souls in 2024, it's remarkable how good it looks. Like the guys at Bluepoint did such a good job with this, and it's still like, if they released it today, it would still be like just a top tier visual experience. It's extraordinary how good it looks and how awesome it is even on the base PS5. It's just it runs beautifully. It looks awesome. It's so incredibly detailed. It's just a real highlight on the PlayStation 5. But here, it's very much like Tilu, where there's a pro mode, and then there's the old cinematic mode, basically their equivalent of a fidelity mode or a quality mode. They called it a cinematic mode at 4K 30, and the old performance mode. So you get the new modes, or rather the new mode, and the old modes here, just like with Tilu. And the cinematic and performance modes are the exact same as they were before. The pro mode is clearly resolving an image that perceptually looks very 4K, I would say. It looks pretty 4K. It's a little soft, but it does hold up well, even at very close range on a 4K set. They didn't confirm any numbers or details to me on the upscaling solution potentially in use or the resolutions. They were a little tight-lipped about that, but it's resolving a good amount of detail. And the image quality was quite good, although Demon's Souls is a bit of a lower contrast game, especially in the Buletaria area that they were showing me. So it is like a little bit more favorable. But they also did show us some footage of kind of a big boss fight, a couple big boss fights here. And they also look very good, even though they're higher contrast and they have more challenging content like fire. It does look very, very good. But I'd also say that Demon's Souls is perhaps the game that we saw at the showcase that was the least in need of an upgrade on PS5 Pro, because it looks so good on PS5, and in a normal viewing distance, I think that 1440p 60 performance mode is actually a real highlight. I think it looks really, really good on base PS5, even still today. They also have one new visual feature, or new-ish visual feature, which is they have a new contact shadow system on the Pro, which looked very good. But if you go back to that PS5 version, they had screen space shadows on kind of these bits of rock and stone inside like castle areas, and this looks very similar, but it's a lot more detailed. I did see some screen space artifacts. They wouldn't comment on this, but I did see some screen space artifacts in that solution. So I think it's like a screen space shadowing solution, but just with a very high level of detail here. So it looks quite nice. And it did provide a good amount of additional definition. Again, I can't show this to you, but just imagine this footage, it's just looking a lot more detailed than in this footage, basically, with more of those kind of fine shadow details around the edges of the rock faces and the stones, and it looked quite compelling there. So they are doing something beyond that base enhancement. Obviously, this is an almost 4-year-old game now, so maybe expecting the universe in terms of a PS5 Pro upgrade was not necessarily in the cards, but also it does look substantially better on PS5 Pro. And it's a very, very good looking visual experience. So I'd say this is definitely it's definitely a solid implementation for sure here as well.